Is there anything wrong with the process with Mr. Wontumi as we are seeing? No law, as far as we hear, has been broken yet. He was picked up with a warrant, we understand. He was interrogated. His lawyers applied for bail. He was given bail pending investigations, or bail pending investigation. And he has to meet the bail conditions. He's been unable to meet the bail conditions. Has there been anything wrong with this process as far as the law is concerned, sir?
Thank you for having me. I would like to begin from how he was arrested. And I think from that angle, I see a situation where you can talk about some possible rights violations against Mr. Boesiakun, because the so-called Rambo-style approach, which was used to ambush him in the middle of the road and so on, to take him to Yoko, excuse me, was not justified. It wasn't necessary for Yoko to have done that, because previously he himself had accepted an invitation to come to the CRD and so on. Having said that, if you come to look at the bail process itself, I don't see anything wrong done by Yoko, because for the fact that, first of all, bail is a right that every citizen and resident is entitled to. And he was accorded that right by within the 48 hours that's when he was arrested. But then the next step is the bail conditions. And we know that under the bail condition, it is dependent on the case, or it is determined on a case-by-case basis. Every case and the accused person or the suspect involved will determine how the security agency under whose custody he is will determine the bail conditions. And there is some discretion for the particular security agency to determine, based on the conditions, that whether, for example, the person is a flight risk, whether the person may reoffend, whether the person may interfere with the investigations, or whether in the previous situation the person was granted bail but went to reoffend. And then the other part is the nature.
Professor Appiagyei's line is frozen. Well, we will get back to Prof. He was in the middle of making a point in respect of the determination of the bail conditions. Well, I come in studio and speak to Honorable Isaac Boama Nyako, so that when Prof's line gets better, we would. Okay, Prof is back. Prof, sorry, we lost you briefly. Your line went off a bit. So if you could continue from where you
I'm sorry. Okay, so I was talking about the bail conditions and the fact that each security agency under whose custody a person is arrested has some discretion to determine what bail conditions to slap on the person who is under investigation. And so some of the issues they look at is whether the person is a flight risk, whether the person has the nature of his criminal record, whether he may interfere with the investigations, whether he's likely to reoffend, or whether in a previous bail given him, he offended when he was on bail, and so on. And also the amount to determine what the surety, the amount that he has to, not to be used for to determine the surety. It's also dependent on probably the amount of money that is alleged to is connected to the crime that is alleged to have committed, or the complexity of the offense, and so on. So in this case, we see a situation of money laundering and other allegations being leveled against him, and also connected with probably the Galamsey issue. So to me, it's a serious offense, and I understand the amount that he's alleged to have, he is alleged to be involved in is about 500 million cedis or dollars, I'm not too sure. So in that sense, I'm not sure the 50 million cedis that is part of the bail conditions is too onerous. And so in that respect, I don't see anything wrong done by Yoko in that respect. Of course, the law says that you're entitled to bail but it shouldn't be too burdensome, or it shouldn't make it too difficult for the person to be able to come under bail. But at the same time, the law also says that it shouldn't be done in such a way that the person may escape from justice or violate any law when the bail is not appropriate for, the bail conditions are not appropriate with respect to his particular case. So the law goes on to say that in order not to violate the right of a person to bail, if it is considered to be too onerous, there is a process, and the process is to go to courts, the high court, for the court to review and to vary the bail conditions. And so these are the legal processes involved, which one would have expected that the NPP team would have followed. And that is where I fault the steps that they took, the extra legal steps that they took, leaving Parliament to go to sit down on the floor at Yoko and so on. I think it was needless, and it was just to create some drama and to create attention, which in the end would have led to breeding some form of lawlessness. And indeed, some lawlessness occurred, considering that, for example, a journalist was assaulted. And so this is why there should be the need to follow the rules of the law. And these MPs are lawyers, or most of them, they know the rules. They've done that before. And so I don't know why in this particular context, they decided to choose that route, which creates the perception that they want to politicize the situation, because the legal rules are there. Why not follow it instead of all the drama that they brought into the picture?
Well, I see. Of course, a lot of the persons who have spoken from the NPP said that the process is a political one, not necessarily legal, because of the personality involved and what is done in the past, and the subtle promise to show him where power lies, quote unquote. And so there should be a political solution to it as well, as the legal side is being pursued. So what they did in Parliament, marching to the place, etc., was indicative of that political solution, quote unquote, to raise awareness for people to see that, what is happening has a political twist, and that, the party as a body was behind it. So that solidarity in politics is quite crucial, is it not?
Well, there is politics in everything, but it's about a question of degree. My take on this political approach is that I interpret it as probably the fact that the NPP is still waking up slowly to realize that it is no more in power. And so coming to grips with that reality seems to be haunting the NPP. And so the steps that they are taking is like they want to still prove that they are on the side of their people and they want to fight for them. And we also want to consider the fact that this person, Mr. Appiagyei-Atua, is an influential figure in the NPP. And by the nature of the charges laid against him, they feel that there's a sort of witch hunt. On the part of the NDC, they also want to see some political twist to it, in the sense that they also want to show that they are now in power. That's why I was condemning the approach they adopted to arrest Mr. Appiagyei-Atua. But when it comes to the bail issue itself, it looks to me that Yoko is working within the law. And there's also a legal solution to the problem. And that is where I think the approach that the NPP should have adopted, because the route that they took, the political approach that they took, probably they should have done the two together. But thinking that they can just use force or use the strategy of going to the place, it's a form of peaceful assembly. But it led to some lawlessness being committed. And they even had to come out to apologize and so on. And I think they went a little bit too far. They went to the extent of creating drama out of it in order just to heighten some political tension in the country, which I think was needless. So much as they want to make a political statement out of this, they should recognize that they have to work within the law, and they should also measure the political approach so that it doesn't spill out of control.
Yes, but they are an opposition party, are they not? So, for example, if they hadn't done all of that, you condemn the manner in which he was picked up after the meeting with the CID. Perhaps if they hadn't made all the noise as we saw them do, we wouldn't have even known that that was how he was picked up for us to decide whether that was appropriate or not. So that is yielding some fruit. And they may want to say so or do so people know that perhaps the government is not doing it right, which in the end has political consequences, chipping away the goodwill of the government in respect of this. So it's part of a political solution, if you like, to this problem and to other ones that may come in the future. And I'm sure by the way they have handled it next time, if the security agencies are going to pick up somebody, they'll be mindful of the repercussions of that. And so they'll be careful. Shouldn't that be how we look at it, rather?
My point remains that the whole thing was over-dramatized. And at the end of the day, it wasn't helpful to the security of the state. And because here's the situation where the issue shifted from the nature of the arrests, which we certainly condemn because it's been one too many since the NDP came to power. All the attempts to deal with arrests and inviting people have been missteps, which are condemnable. But dealing with the particular issue of the bail condition, I think they overstepped their bounds. We want to make sure, I think what we also need to understand is that the NPP felt too comfortable when they were in power. They were able to capture the states, a number of the state apparatuses that were available. And so it created a situation of comfort. They created a comfort zone where they could have done, if they wanted to do anything, they could do it. For example, if you consider the fact that the Appiagyei-Atua issue is not the first time that we are hearing of it. Last year, through the work of Erastus Asare Donko and others, it came out clearly that he was doing some work in the forest which violated the laws relating to how to mine and prospect for mining and so on, how not to enter into forest reserves and mine over there and all those things. But what did we see from the IGP then? It was just a slap on the wrist. There wasn't any serious attempt. Martin Pebu and others had to go and had knock on the door of the IGP to intervene, and nothing happened. So we are in a new regime. Things have changed, and so they are not able to come to grasp with the fact that this is how the law should be followed, and trying to use this as a means of doing political equalization and so on, it doesn't help at all. I think they have to come to the realities that the law has to work, and the law is no respecter of persons. They did that under their regime to protect their own, but it shouldn't continue. And I reminded of what Mr. Fenemakin, the Honorable Member of Parliament and the Leader of the Minority, said, do unto us what should be done unto you, or something like that. So that it should not be the way things should be done. If they did so to protect their own, it doesn't mean that they worked within the law. There were a lot of violations of legal processes that took place. And so the law should be allowed to work. And that's the attempt to deal with it through a political means, I don't think is the way to go.
Very well. Thanks so much. That's Prof. Appiagyei-Atua of the University of Ghana. Let me come to you.